When you watch Rodgers, the thing that stands out is his ability to drive with the ball and plays out the game. He is fearless, always looking to break lines by driving with the ball. You see it here. As he receives the ball, he's immediately pressured by two defenders. There's almost no room to maneuver. But watch his fantastic footwork on full display. He dribbles into space away from the defenders. Notice how he uses his arms to fend the defenders off. Still, there's a lot to do to get out with another defender closing in. He drags the ball back and flicks it through the defender's legs, and once he sees the space in front of him, there's no stopping him at full steam. His ability to carry the ball from one end of the pitch to another is an extremely valuable trait. Have a look here. He received the ball close to his own goal. There's a defender closing him down. Pay attention to how Rodgers receives the pass. He stays upright and takes a touch away from pressure. He's frozen the defender with that move and given himself valuable space to attack. As always, he uses his arms whilst on the move. His strength and size makes it hard for anyone to stop him whilst he's driving with the ball at full speed. When Rodgers does operate more centrally, he's actually really good at receiving the ball and collapsing the defence. He's constantly checking his shoulder and looking to play forward. Now, I do have question marks on how often we'd see him play centrally in build-up and how often the pass is played to him in these areas. It's not really been a part of Arsenal's game when playing out from the back. Would Arteta play more through the middle with Rodgers there? And would Rodgers' risky plays and turnovers put Arteta off? For Villa, Rodgers tends to drop quite deep to help with build-up. He's often wide and attempts layoffs and flicks around the corner to help evade pressure. However, he has a really bad habit of attempting first-time layoffs even when it's not on. Have a look here. Rodgers receives the pass and there's a defender right on him. Now, there's not really much for him to do here. The most logical play is probably to take a touch and buy a foul. But Rodgers plays a blind pass with his weaker left foot right to the opponent's feet. These turnovers don't really make sense. It's almost as if he gets bored in games attempting these really risky and low reward passes. He has a really bad habit of turning the ball over. Rodgers has lost the ball 60 times in his own third and 231 times in the middle third of the pitch in the league this season. Odegaard in comparison lost it 25 times in his own third and 98 times in the middle third. Now, I know these two players are very different types of attacking midfielders, so let's use Eze as a comparison. Just like Odegaard, he's lost the ball 25 times in his own third and 104 times in the middle third. Now, this isn't all bad for Rodgers. If he were to play under Arteta, I do expect this part of his game to be improved quite quickly. Arteta has said he doesn't like creating straight lines between wide players. He puts a lot of emphasis on the pass being played at an angle with the receiver on the move.
Because I don't like creating lines between the wide players. Why? Because the fullback passes to the wide player like this, it's back to goal, he can progress the play, there's always someone in his bum. He cannot play forward.
There is something Arteta would definitely love in Rodgers' game. Morgan Rodgers plays a massive part in getting his team up the pitch. It's not only on the ground, but with goal kicks too. He's a big presence, and whenever Villa want to bypass the press, he's often the target and does really well to gain territory for his side. It's something Arsenal struggled with a lot last season. When teams pressed high and dared them to go over the top, Arsenal don't really have someone who can reliably win those duels in the air and drive the team forward with the ball. It's a layer that Rodgers will no doubt add, and Arteta definitely has that in mind. With Rodgers playing as an attacking midfielder and often centrally, you'd like to think he has the capability to consistently unlock defences with his passing, but that really isn't the case. It's probably the area in his game that I think needs most improving. There are times when the pass is clearly on and he just doesn't see it, or he'll approach it incorrectly and make it harder for his teammate to score. You see it here. Before he receives the pass, he has a quick glance to see what's ahead. As he takes a touch, he has another look in the same direction. This time there's a clear passing window that's opened up for him to play to. Look at Rodgers' approach. Instead of passing on his left foot or even open up his body to play on the inside of his right boot, he goes for an outside of the foot pass which lacks power and direction and ultimately kills the move. He loves to attempt outside of the boot passes, especially on the left side of the pitch, and oftentimes his technique's all wrong. It's as if he isn't confident making these passes on his left foot, even though the angle favours it. On the counter, he doesn't really settle down much with his passing. He seems to rush passes before they've even become an option. So, does that mean he's not good enough to play in these dangerous areas? In my opinion, no. Although his pass selection and incision can be quite frustrating to watch, there's clear evidence of him being a reliable creator with real upside, especially out wide. His willingness to run beyond the last line and look for cutbacks is a really promising trait, especially against deep blocks. Look here, Rodgers has the ball just outside the opposition's box. He plays a pass and instantly looks to run beyond the last line. Pay attention to the aggressiveness. The defender's presence doesn't bother him and he beats him to that spot. Now there's a clear cutback which he picks his teammate out. This is what I really like about his game. His movement is such a threat, especially against deep blocks. And it's not only cutbacks, his crossing, especially from the right, is a problem to defend against. When you look at his crossing stats, it doesn't really tell the full story. There's been plenty of crosses into the box that could have easily led to a goal. He generates serious whip on the ball and is able to do so from a standstill and even on the move. Here's a move for England that we often see in Arsenal's game. is usually why Odegaard and Saka that form this triangle. Rodgers is operating where we know Odegaard to be, but they are very different in how they operate, as we'll see. Odegaard often stays on the inside without offering a run in behind, but Rodgers does. He always looks to attack the space rather than play to feet. Look here, he's already looking ahead to see where the space is. As the fullback receives the pass, Rodgers gets on his bike. The opposition fullback has his eyes totally on the ball, and it's so difficult to track the inside run here. Rodgers slows down on approach and puts a dangerous ball into the box. He can do this move on repeat with ease. And when you factor in his driving with the ball on his strong side, it seemed like that's exactly what he needs to simplify his game by playing to his strengths, and the defense will no doubt have to worry about him. Speaking of strengths, the part of Rodgers' games that really excite me is his shooting and goal scoring. We mentioned the whip he generates from crosses, and it's even more prominent when he's having a shot on goal. Have a look here. He receives the ball with his back to goal, with the defender breathing down his neck. I love how he uses his arms to fend the defender off. There's another defender attempting to tackle him, but with quick feet he evades the pressure. This next part is really high level stuff. Notice how he doesn't attack the oncoming defender. He beats him to the spot here, which makes it so much more difficult to stop. He then gets his chest over the ball, staying compact, and whips it to the far corner. Here's an almost identical situation. There's a defender in front of him with another coming to help. He could easily attack down the line, but again, he has no care for that. Instead, he dribbles away from the defenders to a spot he's in total control of and shoots to the far corner again. His ability to get off shots here starts with his elite approach. He doesn't attack the defenders straight on and then shoot. Instead, he goes away from them, which creates a better angle to work with, and then he lines up his shot. It's what makes his cutting and shoot so dangerous. Now have a look at his shot map over the past 2 seasons. The first thing that jump out is the volume. He's gone from 55 shots last season to 84 shots this season, and that's quite a big increase in shot attempts. But when you take a closer look, his non-penalty XG is pretty much the same across both seasons. His average shot distance has crept further out from 13.3 yards to nearly 15 yards this season. He's shooting from far out a lot more often. Whilst it's become easier for him to get shots off this season, I do think he's fallen in love with ill-advised strikes from the left from distance. And Rodgers himself has acknowledged these long-range strikes aren't sustainable. Unai Emery has been coaching him to get into the box more and hunt for easier chances, and it's where his game has started to evolve. When you look at where his goals have gone in this season, the spread is more even. He's still scoring from the left side and centrally, but what's interesting is the addition of shots and goals from the inside right area. A big part of that is his willingness to run beyond the striker. He isn't waiting to receive to feet as much, and there's more emphasis on attacking the space in behind. Have a look here. He receives the ball out wide, instantly he lays it off to his winger. Look at how he's constantly checking his shoulder to see what's happening around him. As soon as his teammate checks inside, Rodgers notices the opponent fixated on the ball. He runs into space. Now he's found himself deep in the box with enough time to set himself up for a shot. He has a quick glance on where the keeper is and drills it high near post. These runs in behind are so difficult to stop, and when you couple it with the power and precision he generates from his shots, it's a move that can destabilize even the most stubborn defenses. This section was supposed to look at his potential fit at Arsenal, but as you may or may not know, a few hours ago, Chelsea submitted a monstrous bid of £117 million for Morgan Rogers' signature. Now that's a lot of money, but there must be a clear reason why Chelsea was so adamant in getting him. For Arsenal, I had big question marks on if he'd come to play left wing, and made the case that he'd be a lot more suited to play on the inside right channel, and playing off the left in Arteta's system would have stifled him in my opinion. However, for Chelsea I do think the fit is a lot better. If Alonso deploys the same 3-4-3 formation he did at Leverkusen, there's a clear position that Rodgers would take up. He'd be playing on the inside left or right, which I think would get the best out of him. I could see a solid trio forming with him, Palmer and João Pedro, where all can combine and interchange freely. Also, Alonso puts a lot of emphasis in playing through the middle, and Rodgers will have a lot of touches in these areas. It'd be a lot better for him receiving here rather than out wide. Now this transfer doesn't come without flaws. Rodgers is extremely error prone to turning the ball over, and that will cause issues for sure. The question is, do Chelsea have the structure behind him to alleviate his ball losses in dangerous areas? Let me know what you think. For Chelsea fans, are you excited with this signing? And for Arsenal fans, do you think this is a big miss? Comment below on which players you want me to analyse next. And until next time, peace.